Got to get this one recorded. So Jeremiah Tatum, guys, one thing I want to share with you guys, he started running long distance in 2009, so about 13 years ago. And in the last 13 years, he has ran 31 marathons. 31 marathons. Like, that's crazy. That's awesome. And he actually just ran one a couple weeks ago. And I asked him, hey, man, you've run a lot of marathons. How many like half marathons has he ran? And he said roughly about 300 half marathons, which is, a little over 13 miles. So he runs over 50 miles every week, over 50 miles a week. He's like, you got to do that so you can compete well in marathons. So, so Jeremiah, guys, the theme for today, the topic he's talking on today is how to stay. Somebody needs to mute their phone.
I'm looking for him here. Got it.
Okay. So guys, the topic for today, definitely be prepared to take lots of notes, is how to stay on a good schedule, and just how staying on a good schedule is critical for success with protecting families and improving your personal health and just life. So how staying on a good schedule is critical for success for protecting families and improving your personal health and life. So yeah, guys, awesome topic, awesome speaker. Jeremiah, thank you for being on, man. Over to you, sir.
Hey, thanks, guys. Can you hear me fine?
Yes, sir.
Hey, okay.
I look like my dad used to say it this way, like you just got drugged through a knothole. I think it's early in the morning, so for me, it looks like I haven't woken up yet. I look like an old man, but in an hour I'll look better. But it's good to see you guys. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk. I'm very humbled by that. Good to see two agencies working together and doing calls together. I think that's awesome. The teamwork aspect is good. And I think people ask me why I got into this business in particular. And those of you that don't know anything about me from the past, I've been a minister for about 30 years. My grandfather was a missionary in New Zealand. My mom grew up in New Zealand. I actually grew up in Los Angeles till I was 12, and then we moved up to the Central Valley as I was in 6th grade. And then I stayed there all the way through high school. I went to college there. I got a degree, and I was going to be a doctor. It was a pre-med degree. My dad went through some health issues, and I guess I never could get away from ministry. So I kind of scrapped that, came to Tennessee to the Bible Belt, went to a Christian college, got a master's degree, another couple degrees in Bible and New Testament, and just started preaching. And I really started preaching when I was 18, just because I was at my grandfather's feet doing that, speaking at places. And I'm 49 now, so it's been a long time. And I still preach every Sunday for a congregation. I used to preach for a 500 member church, and that's what I did just full time for 25 years. But pandemic happened, other things just sometimes sidetrack some of the things you're doing in life, and you reboot. And I really rebooted to this job in May of 2020. So I've been around since May of 2020. Dude, if you weren't here then, it was crazy with the pandemic. You couldn't talk to anybody. You couldn't go in places. When we started, Andy Santos, he was like, okay, he was giving incentives for how many phone calls you made. I mean, that's what people were doing, sitting at home, like almost getting a phone book out and just calling places. Could you imagine trying to do it that way? Not ideal. So if you have the opportunity right now to walk outside and walk in businesses and talk to people, just be glad, be thankful for that. So that's a great blessing. It makes it much more appealing when you have that taken away from you. Let me tell you like that. So anyway, I appreciate Kyle asking me, and Van and I had also talked about doing this a while back. So I hope what I have to say today is a blessing to you. It's not rocket science at all. There's not anything I'm going to say today that's a new thing, but I think it is true. And I hope that each one of you can kind of use something that I have said today and implement it and just make yourself better. We're all trying to be better every single day. I'm actually sitting in a hotel in Forest City, Arkansas, on my way to Benton, Arkansas, to train a new guy who happens to have been a youth pastor. So his name is Dustin Sanders. I'm super pumped about this guy. early 30s and really intelligent guy, and loves everybody, cares about everybody, wants to make a difference. So he's just a really good recruit that we've got. And so I'm driving 7 hours from my house. I drove after having some meetings up to about 5:30. I drove to about 11, got a hotel here, and then I'm going to meet him in about 2 hours. So that's where I'm heading next. So let's go to the topic, and that is just having good habits. Now, I will tell you that I am not the most organized person in the world. I need a lot of help with that. But if you want to have success with certain things, you have to organize your life. And I didn't ever intend on being an insurance salesman, and I never thought I would ever run, and I certainly never thought I'd run a marathon. But when I was 31 and I had a 3-year-old boy and a 3-month-old boy, I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer. And but my whole church was kind of knocked sideways by that. It's like, even the preacher can get cancer when he's 30, you know? So stuff happens to people. And I think a lot of people are trying to figure out why. But, you know, you don't ask why. The rain falls on the just and the unjust, right? Things just happen, and it's part of life. So you trust in God with it, you move forward, and you fight back. So about 4 years, I battled for about 4 years. I had 4 surgeries, I had radiation, I had a lot of things going on in my life. And when I came out of that experience, I thought, I need to get healthier. I had thousands of people praying for me. I had all the good doctors at Vanderbilt. I was very blessed. But I was like, okay, so now it's your turn, Jeremiah, to do something different. So we had a bunch of guys at church that decided they were going to start working out on January 1st, like everyone else in the world, right? So I did. We all joined a gym, and I was very weak. I couldn't push anything around. But I decided I was just going to start walking on the treadmill. And then I started showing up every day, and then I jogged a little bit. And then I remember the first time about a month in when I ran for 10 minutes without stopping. And I thought, wow, I can't believe I just ran 10 minutes without having to stop. And before you knew it, by April, I was running my first 5K. And I ran that. And then I was like, I think I'll do another one of these. And then by the end of the year, I'd probably run 10 or 15 of those and did my first half marathon. That was 2010. I promise this is going somewhere. Okay. And then some other guys talked me into a marathon, which I thought was a totally ridiculous and stupid idea. So I did that in 2011. Said I'd never do it again. Took me almost 4 hours. The last 3 miles, I thought I was literally going to die and wished I had. And then about a week later, I thought, I think next year I could do that a little bit better. So that's just kind of where I ended up. I went back the next year, I improved my time by 24 minutes. And then I was like, wow, I'm only 9 minutes off to qualifying for the Boston Marathon. So I made that my new goal. And now I'm going to run it for the 8th time in April in a row. So it's just one of those things where you show up every day and you get up before everybody else. And when you get up early and you go work out, or you read a book, or you do something every single day, it keeps you in between the lines on where you're trying to head in life. And so that's why I've been able to run the marathons and have some success. I'm not better than anybody else. I'm not more talented than anybody else. I just show up every day. And I think that translates to our job. When you start this business, they're telling you 25 to 30 approaches, 5 to 6 demos, 1 family protected. The reason why is because the metrics say that if you do those things, you can have a career here. You can always have success. You can always talk to enough people, and you can talk to the right person, and you can learn how to do this and how to get better at it. The only way you're ever going to do anything well is by doing it every day. It doesn't matter how talented you are, how smart you are, how much you've learned, your age. I remember Andy telling me about 3 months in, when I was struggling. I didn't sell a lot of insurance at all the first 3 months, 4 months. He showed up. I'm like, Andy, I need you to show up and hang out with me for a day. And I don't want to do anything. I just want to watch you. And so he drove to Lewisburg, Tennessee, and I drove down there and I watched him. And I saw how assumptive he was, and I saw how he just walked into every business and how he belonged there. And it was kind of like they were lucky to get to talk to Andy, because he had something that they didn't understand, something that they needed to know about, something he was confident about that he'd been doing for a long time, that he knew could make a difference. And I just thought to myself, well, why can't I be like that? And as we were leaving one of the businesses, I was like, I've only seen you do a couple approaches. I'm like, I think I've already figured it out. We can spend the rest of the day, but I know what I was doing wrong. And he goes, well, Jeremiah, you're going to suck at this for 3 to 6 months. I'm like, I don't want to suck at this at 3 to 6 months. He says, you just are, because you just never done this before. You just got to keep showing up every day, and it'll change. So what do I do every day? I get up, I get my run in, come back home, I shower, I read something. Maybe I read something from one, or listen to a podcast. Maybe I read something from different tutorials that are out there for me. Maybe I'm making my schedule for the people that I'm going to talk to that day. Now I'm talking to agents, right? Now I'm talking to 4 or 5 agents before I even get out in the field. But that's just something that you do every single day. And then I also learned that you work 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day. Now I always worked that way. When I was in ministry, I'd work 60 hours a week because people need you. You know, you have office time, you're visiting people in the hospital, you're going to their houses, you're studying with people, you're doing counseling with people. Yesterday, before I left Cookeville, there's a couple that wants me to do their wedding. So I met them at a coffee house at 4:30, and we end up doing kind of like a premarital counseling session for about an hour. Why? Because they needed me to do that. And you just put that in your schedule, and you spend time doing valuable things, because you're only going around this world one time. And I think when I was 31 and I got cancer, when I went through cancer, one of the things that taught me was that I don't have a whole lot of time. And so I might as well make the very most of every day. So I never, ever felt guilty about getting up earlier than everybody else and running and watching the sun come up. Because when you go through something like that, you start to notice the beauty of the sunrise. You start to look at the stars again. You don't let the world pass you by, but you make the most of every single minute. And really the only way that you're going to be successful in this business is to schedule your life and to stay on a schedule, because you only have so much time and you have to decide what you're going to do at that time. Anybody who wants to be successful can be. They just have to decide that they want to be, and they have to implement a system in which that's going to make that possible. And the reality is, if you don't work 40 hours a week as a salesperson, you're not going to be as successful as you can be. I mean, you have to do that. My parents and my grandparents always worked at least 40 hours a week. I know that we talk about the flexibility of this job, but I'm sure Kyle can tell you, I'm sure Van can tell you, I'm sure anybody that's gotten to MD or RD or is heading that way, maybe you don't sell as much as you used to sell because you're in leadership, but I guarantee you they work a lot. And it's just part of the situation that we're in. Now, there's going to be flexibility, and I really hope to work less. But on the front side, that's just not how it works. I can't, for example, run well in a marathon if I don't show up every day and practice. And they always talk about how you play how you practice, right? And that's going to be true in everything that you do in life. Now, I will tell you this, I've been really blessed to sell some insurance, but I'm really not that good at it. I've probably been told no more than anybody else in our company since May of 2020. That's it. I've just probably been told no more than everybody else. It's just that I'm willing to be told no, and I don't care, because I know that if I continue to talk to people, I'll be told yes. I take the same approach as I did to ministry. If I believe that I want everybody to go to heaven, and I want everybody to believe in God and have the blessing that I have, I just tell everybody. I just tell everybody about that and give them the opportunity. And if I can help one person get there, then it's going to be worth all the people that told me no. I get to focus on the person that said, yes, I want to hear more about that. You know, I do care about where I'm headed in my life, and if there's something beyond this place. And so I would say some of the things that have made my life blessed in this business is really just I've outworked probably a lot of other agents, and that's only the only reason why I've sold a pretty good amount of insurance. But I'm still trying to get better. And now now that RD has started, and I was a market director for two quarters, so I was advanced from market director to RD. I'm still learning how to do that. So my focus is somewhat shifting, just making sure that everybody else around me is getting better. And that's a very intimidating thing. So we're all a team, we're all a family, we're all here together, we're all trying to do the right thing for people, and we're all headed in a positive direction. And if you get the right people around you, and if you're willing to work hard, and if you genuinely care about everybody, then things seem to work out. But I've just been rambling. So Kyle, save me.
Hey man, that is awesome. Holy smokes, Jeremiah. I'm going to open up to questions. I just have a really quick question for you before we open up to everybody else. Could you share like what your morning routine like looks like? Like what is, I guess, your morning ritual kind of look like for yourself?
Yeah, it wasn't a very good technical call, so I'll try to do better. So every morning, like this morning, I feel so guilty. This is why I look so sleepy, because I didn't get up till 6 o'clock. Because usually I get up about 4:45. I get a little bit of coffee. I meet my friends at 5:15, sometimes at 5. Sometimes I get up 4:30 and we start running at 5, because we're going to run 7 or 10 miles that morning. We usually if we want to run 12, we need to start running at 5. So if I start running at 5, I'll be done about 6 or 6:30. I'll come home, get a shower, sit down and plan out my day. I usually have calls with people that are, people that I've trained that are on my team, starting as early as 7 o'clock. And usually 2 calls in the morning, 30-minute calls with people on my team. I'll have some in the afternoons too, because I've got about 15 or 20 people on my team now, about 20. And so I have to have a 30-minute call with them every week at some point. So the scheduling all that in there, a lot of those are evening calls or weekend calls, but it doesn't seem like work, that part, because we're just friends talking, right? And then I'm usually, a lot of times by 7:30, 8 o'clock, while I'm making those calls, I'm in my car headed somewhere to where I'm going to sell. On Mondays, I don't usually go into businesses before about 9 or 10 o'clock at least, because usually the last thing the business owner wants is some dude trying to sell insurance at his door. He's not expecting at 8 o'clock. So that's not something that I do. I try to think about the practical nature of what I'm doing and how to be respectful of people's time. But that's pretty much every day. Run every morning, meet my friends that are in my running group, come home, take a shower, get my second cup of coffee, schedule out my day, have goals down for that day, who I'm going to talk to. I think I usually have at least 5 things that I write down that I'm going to accomplish on that day. And that may not just be about the insurance stuff. It's like, oh, I need to make sure this bill gets paid, or I need to go pick up my medicine over here, or whatever. But I write down those 5 or 6 things that I will do first before I do anything else, if they can get done. Does that make sense? That way I'm successfully moving towards something, and I'm accomplishing something in my day. And after that, I'm working till 4 or 5 o'clock. It just depends on where I am. Today, I'm going to be in Arkansas. I'll be in Arkansas tomorrow. Then I'll drive back on Friday night. And so I'll be ready to go home. But those are a few things. Is that good? Does that help?
Very good. Very good. This is fire content. Thank you. I'm going to open up to the audience for any questions or comments for Jeremiah.
Hey, Jeremiah, it's Todd. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Man, just thank you for being on the call. It just reminds me of the things that I need to get back to doing again. But it was interesting to hear you say, because one of the greatest things to me about working out in the morning is just the beauty of the sunrise, or even the stars, and I miss it. The being out with my buddies running and stuff like that. So, man, thank you for bringing back that memory, man. But also, thank you for hammering home that we just got to show up, man. I appreciate you.
Thanks. Cancer taught me 2 things. One was that I'm not in control. If I ever thought I was, I wasn't. You're not in control. There's a higher power up there. The other thing is you live one day at a time. So all we got today is this 24-hour period. God made 24-hour periods for a reason. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble. Jesus said that in Matthew. So we only got to do this for a day. I can do anything for a day. I was trying to finish this marathon in Chicago to try to get into Boston. I was squeaking in. I had this one weekend to try and run. I had to run about a 3 hour and 15-minute marathon, or else I couldn't qualify to stay. And then there was a guy who was a pacer in the marathon, and we were like the last 2 miles, and man, I was struggling to stay going. And he's like, dude, you can do anything for 10 minutes. You can do anything for 10 minutes. Come on. And we've always said that, and that's kind of what makes you go. So you can do anything today. Anything you put your mind to today, you can do it. You just have to do it today. And then you just stack up all those days.
Jeremiah, what's up, man? Brad Phillips here. Yeah, thank you for being on the call this morning. Congratulations on hitting RD. Yeah, man, especially as fast as you went to RD from market director. So, man, you are definitely disciplined in your own mind, which is amazing to see, man. You had made a comment that you've probably been told no more than anybody in Family Heritage since 2020. Obviously, I think one of the biggest challenges that a lot of folks deal with, especially a lot of newer agents, is just getting told no, over and over again. Man, what's the one key thing that just kept you going to the next yes, even after all those no's, just to keep going and keep going? I know you had mentioned, just the purpose of being able to help that one person, but I mean, like, just mentally, internally, and the 6 inches in between your ears, what kind of thoughts, did you have running through your head that just kept you plowing forward, man?
Well, I love everybody. I just love everybody. So I love people. So people are funny. Some people are kind. Some people are abrasive. Some people had a bad morning I didn't know about. There's always things going on in people's lives that make them negative. There are some, you never know who's going to buy. You think that you do, but you don't. You just have to have the conversations. You can have appointments that you think are going to lead to huge enrollments that completely fizzle out, and then you'll walk out of that place and go talk to a person for the first time, and they'll buy on the spot. And that's just how it's crazy like that, but it totally works. How many of us have been told no all day long and decided to go into one more business, and then that led to 10,000 in gap because they bought, and then they sent us to somewhere else. And then it's because I pushed through that one. We never know what door is the next door. But I think the reason why I was able to get through that, and believe me, I've been told everything by everyone. I've been screamed at, yelled at, chased out, all that stuff. But I just kind of keep my smile on, and I tell them, hey, I'm sorry I interrupted your day. As a minister over a 500 member church, every day you get up there to speak on a Sunday, you want to bless people, but everybody takes something differently from it. And some people didn't like what I had to say, and some people loved what I had to say, and they had all their different reasons. And I just found out that through that process that everybody is beautiful. All people are beautiful, and they have their own reactions to things. And think about how Jesus handled it. He was treated really badly, but he just kept calm and peaceful and continued to be kind to the people that weren't kind to him. And I guess I've learned that no is it's not my fault. It's not my problem. There's a reason why they said no. And I'll just go to the next place and someone will say yes. I hope that was good. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it was great, man. I appreciate it. Sounds like just remembering your purpose, and really owning what you do. And, for something that helped me a little bit, over the years is just remembering that, I've always kind of felt like what we do is probably more important than what they're doing.
That's great. Yeah.
Like we're not out here changing tires or changing oil or giving people haircuts, we're helping people with the hardest times of their lives. And it sounds like you just really have that ownership of the importance of what you signed up to do when you came to Family Heritage. So yeah, man, thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I did this enrollment back in February at a stone moving place that has some low level employees and some ownership. And I went in that place like 5 or 6 times over a 6-month span. But when I first went in there, the man who owned the business was dying. He was literally on oxygen. I met his wife, and they had some interest, but of course he was sick and he was going home to die. And that really affected me. And in a personal way, seeing their situation. I came back a month later, going over the mountain, going to train a guy to see how everything was going. and he had died. And I cried. I mean, I cried right there on the spot because his wife was gone. The kids had taken her to Florida to try to help get over it. He'd owned that business his whole life, and they were really sweet people. But over the process of time, I would just go into that place every month when I'd pass through there and just say hi. I wasn't even there to sell insurance. And then eventually she had me come in and sign up all her guys. And this was in like March of this year, February. They all got accident policies, elite across the board. They made their contribution. The main people got everything we have. Well, one of the guys I signed up in March died in May of an accident. So we had a full, elite accident death claim to his wife, who had no insurance. They had no health insurance, no life insurance, no nothing until I went in there. And it was because I pressed through all that stuff. Since that time, we've had 3 other claims in there. So what we do is a big deal. And it took me 6 months basically to get that done. But now it's made a huge impact on people's lives. So if they tell me no, that's fine. They don't know that I have something that's going to help them. And if they say no, I'll just go help the next person because it will make a difference.
It's awesome, man. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, y'all, we help people through the hardest times of their lives, and you never know who the next person's going to be who needs you more than anybody.
It's true.
Hey, Jeremiah, it's Casey. Thank you for jumping on and congrats. I just wanted to say I've actually had the privilege to watch Jeremiah in action in the field, but also I had the opportunity to go on a travel train more with him. And the one thing I will say about watching him just interact with people, nothing he does is about him. Everything he does is about them. And I've seen it firsthand. I've seen his schedule, his routine, because we would get up and we'd go to Planet Fitness on the train more in Alabama. So he is a man of his word, and he does exactly what he's telling you guys that he does. But I can tell you, every single person that we came in contact with in Alabama, he left them better than he found them every single time. Not only that, but he's also doing 75 hard with us. And so the intentionality of his schedule and things that he already does is pretty much already there. So he was the quickest. Yeah, I'll do it with you guys, probably of anybody. But I will say, I'm going to start incorporating the list like you talked about, because I do little things like making my bed every morning as soon as I get out of it, just so I can check that off the list as something that's completed every day. But doing it a little bit more intentional with the 5 things, I think will be even better. So thanks for sharing that.
Hey, Casey, I appreciate and love you. And Casey's awesome. And it was fun to do. I will tell you this, if I can throw a compliment back, we walked into this place it was like a medical office or something like that. And I saw her do the most beautiful cold call to close that I've seen yet. So that was awesome to watch. But when I talk to the agents that I'm training now, what I try to tell them is every single place we walk into, we want to have a good experience. That's the goal. I don't know that we're going to sell anything today. I don't know if they're going to give us any time, but I want to have a good experience so that when we walk out of there, we're glad we walked in it. And we can make that happen regardless of how they react to us. So I'm thinking about when I'm walking in and I'm looking at everything that I'm seeing from the outside in and what's going on inside and reading that situation is, how does this going to go well? Right. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Jeremiah. Hey, buddy, it's Zach. Quick question. You mentioned something earlier about staying organized and how crucial that is in our business. Now, you're building your agency, your team, and also selling at a very high level. You have to stay organized. What are some of the tricks of the trades that you use as far as consolidating notes? When is your kind of planning periods throughout the day? How far out in advance do you look at a schedule? Can you walk me through kind of how you keep everything organized?
One thing you do, of course, is you calendar everything on your phone with alerts. If I don't do that, then I'm not going to stay on, because there's so many moving parts when you have a bunch of new agents that want to talk about different things. You're making appointments with new businesses. You have people that have claims that they want to talk to you about. So I don't have any specific things that I can say, ... These are the things that I implement. But I definitely, in the morning, I'm doing some planning while I'm drinking my coffee. In the evening, I'm assessing what happened for that day before I go to bed. Usually I can just have some stuff on my bedside table as, okay, these are the things that happened today. These are the things I need to remember for tomorrow. I'm taking notes either in my phone on my notes, or I'm putting them in a physical written notebook. So there's definitely planning time. And but I just think it's maybe simple, but every single time that I have an appointment, when I'm walking out of a business, before I'm even out of there, I'm saving their number. I'm putting it in my calendar. I'm putting an alert on my calendar for when I'm going to see them. And then I just look at my phone calendar all the time for the whole week and just say, okay, what's going on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? Okay, what things are absolutely going to happen that I can't avoid, and so on. And I keep that in my mind when I'm making more appointments and scheduling stuff. Does that help?
For sure. Yeah. I think the biggest thing is keeping it consolidated, having a notebook, writing down ideas and notes, but also I use my phone, use my tablet. I think the biggest thing that I can incorporate is the 2 periods that you're talking about, kind of planning while you drink your coffee in the morning, but also reflecting. I mean, I have a lot of conversations that I forget about, in the evening. So in a full 8 to 9 hour day, you're having so many contacts and so many conversations. It's hard to remember it all. So that's crucial to sit back and reflect.
When I walk into business, I've got 3 things. I've got my iPad, I've got a notebook, and I've got my phone. And I put that stuff down before I leave the business, who I talk to and what their name was, what their contact information is, and if an appointment happened, it's in my phone on an alert. That way I won't lose that. But I used to not do that, but it got so convoluted and messy that if I didn't do that, it was just like I was wasting all this energy to talk to people and not have any fruit come from it. And the real fruit is in the follow-up, right? And it's the reality is it's great to sell on the spot. Okay, it's great. But the bigger enrollments and more relationship building happens over a process of time, over weeks or months at a time, where you become the provider for that business, and you have to kind of continue to be in their life. I know this call is going long, so I'm sorry, and I'm too wordy, but I'm a preacher. I will say this, like all the people that I brought to the Lord, and that's not me doing it, that's just him, but he uses us as a vessel, right? We're just bringing people, we're just the vessel to get people where they need to go, and we're taking them there because they can't get there on their own. That's our craft. But it only usually happened because I stayed in people's lives. And even people that didn't want to come to church or didn't want to talk about religion, eventually it's like, well, I don't believe in God, I don't think, and I don't know if I ever want to go to church, but if I ever did, Jeremiah's my contact for that, because he's always around, right? And that's kind of how that happens, by keeping that relationship going and being scheduled, and then following up on the people that you've already talked to without losing their contact.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Jeremiah. Guys,
Thanks, Jeremiah.
I know it's late.
Done with questions. We know we got a busy day for Jeremiah. He's got to get out the field and start field training his new agent. But guys, Jeremiah, thank you so much for your words of wisdom. You are a fantastic leader. So everybody give applause for old Jeremiah. Let's go.
Hey, God bless you guys.
Thank you, sir.
What you're doing, and I hope to see you soon.
Yes,
Thank you,
sir.
Jeremiah.
Rico.
Thanks,
Thank
Jeremiah.
you.
Thanks, Jeremiah.